say we would have seen it stall, maybe the cab buck around or anything like that, but he continues to keep driving.
Signs.
And I guess,
And you do have to wonder, I mean, does he know that he's beat?
You can just see this car circling around here in the Inglewood area. This is an odd place to make a left.
We have no idea. I can confirm one. That would be the driver behind the wheel right now. California Highway Patrol, they do have a helicopter above it. They are making the calls for a lot of the ground units down there. Now, the CHP that we see behind there, you got that one vehicle right there, and then you have several others backing it up. Now, this is going through several different divisions of the California Highway Patrol, so we might see them drop out, other ones coming in to join that chase. And again, other officers from the California Highway Patrol, and I would even venture to say other law enforcement, as we're making our way through different cities, they're going to be kind of getting that heads up as well. They'll probably be close by. Nobody's going to jump in on that pursuit unless they're allowed. But you can see that truck now starting to pick up a little bit of speed up here as we continue westbound on the 91 freeway. Garden Grove area is where we are right now. But again, that is a very heavy vehicle. Hopefully the person that's behind the wheel has an idea or knowledge on how to drive a truck like that. You know, this, again, I got to say it, this is not your typical just put it in drive, and they're calling this stolen. So you got to wonder what kind of circumstances are behind it. You can see we're making our way onto another freeway right there. California Highway Patrol pit maneuver, definitely not going to be in the cards for them this afternoon or this morning while this chase continues. Well, you know, we look at the math on the tech that we have here in Skyfox, and if it's jumping like crazy numbers, it might have been going 90 at one time, but you can see it right there, 55, 60 miles an hour. That's basically what they're supposed to be doing, and it looks like we're just taking that transition, and I'm going to get an eye on where we are. Looks like we're staying on the 91, or that looks like we were dumping south there, so it looks like we're going to be on the 5 freeway right now as we're making our way away from the 91. If we're going to be going northbound, we're going to be going northbound on the 5. So we're going to be getting out of that Orange County area. A lot of traffic definitely is what we were talking about earlier this morning. We were kind of shocked at how much traffic there was this morning. But again, it seems like whenever there's a chase like this, they always get lucky. They got that pursuit luck. A lot of folks not in their way, and that's good for a lot of those drivers out there this morning. Again, this big rig stolen, and California Highway Patrol now tasked with how they're going to bring this to an end safely. Oh, excellent. Well, California Highway Patrol definitely keeping an eye on it. You can see at least one vehicle right there. I'm sure there are more. There's 3 in our shot. But again, the deal is that they are talking to their other divisions out there, and they are going to keep an eye on it. And again, what can they do? Well, right now, keeping the public safe, that's going to be the #1 priority. That is the law enforcement's general #1 priority. But when there's a chase like this, what can they do? Well, lights and sirens give people heads up. Something is coming their way. Again, this big rig driving, let's just say, relatively safely. We see the speeds about what they should be out there. Haven't seen any maneuvers, as it would be, hard turns or anything like that. So whoever's behind the wheel, I'm guessing, has some concern or is thinking about maybe what is going on or what's happening around him. Again, stolen. That's the tough one on this. How do you steal a big rig like that? Well, we're going to find out maybe when this comes to an end. Looks like we're going to be getting off the freeway out here. California Highway Patrol definitely going to stay with it, even though we are not going to be on the freeways. I would venture to say that any of these California Highway Patrol, they're not just going to hand it off to whatever local agency or say, hey, not on the freeway, we're off of it. Right now, though, making that turn, you can see it right there, Artesia Boulevard. It's going to get busy out here, and again, staying in the Santa Ana area. But again, California Highway Patrol tasked with the safety of the public and how to bring this thing to an end safely. Definitely a big concern, and I'm venturing to say that this driver has some ability with a truck like this. We just saw him get off the freeway, and again, if he was not a driver of a big rig, I would venture to say we would have seen it stall, maybe the cab buck around or anything like that, but he continues to keep driving right there. Slower speeds for sure, 21 miles an hour, and that is not wrong. California Highway Patrol right behind it. There's the California Highway Patrol helicopter, just went through the shot as well, giving them a shout out. Those guys are marvelous, and they're always helping us out here in Skyfox. Right now, though, they're focused on that driver, that person behind the wheel of this big rig cab, now making their way on Artesia Boulevard, heading southbound out here in the Garden Grove area. How they're going to bring this thing to a stop, that's the big concern. And again, stopping, that's something that I was wondering about as well. There was one shot right there. I was wondering if he just did a rolling stop through that stop sign, now taking the center divider. Looks like this driver has a destination. Let's see if it's close by, and then what happens then. Definitely driver's side window down. Let's just say a large fellow behind the wheel right there. And this is a very industrial area that we're right in right now. That was what I was trying to show right there. Let me play around with the camera. We're not going to lose it. You can see very industrial out here. Not a lot of just regular vehicles on the roadway. That truck really kind of slowing down. It's going about 20 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour. And here comes a stop sign. Again, if he doesn't stop for that stop sign, that's not just another infraction. It isn't somebody's sitting down there running a tally. The big one is what they're going to go after. This is a stolen vehicle and that driver evading. Again, you just got to kind of wonder, what is the thought behind this driver? It looks like we're going into a homeless area right here. That truck coming to a complete stop. Want somebody out with their cell phone. You always see things like that. I'm wondering if that driver's just going to jump out or if he's saying hello. But that big rig coming to a stop now out here in the Garden Grove area, Buena Park. And again, the California Highway Patrol, they're not having any fun with this. They're very serious this morning. And again, they want to get all these folks out of the way before they start giving commands to that driver behind the wheel. It could be a possibility, but just the fact that there were so many folks out there with their cell phones ready to intercept that vehicle when it pulled up makes you think that there was some communication by the driver saying, hey, I'm coming to this location. Right now, that truck definitely stopped. And again, I don't think it was because the truck is disabled. The driver stopped it. So is this the final destination for that vehicle? We'll find out here shortly. California Highway Patrol, you can see they've got their weapons out. And again, there's a very limited things that they can do right now. They might be able to get some spike strips maybe in front of that big rig, but again, that driver most likely seeing it. Oh, there's the door is open, so it does seem like that driver is complying. Hopefully this will be coming to an end shortly. There you go. It almost looks like he's done this before, getting out of that truck very casually, got his hands above his head. And again, California Highway Patrol going to be doing the rules there. Basically kind of like lift your shirt up, empty your pockets out. We want to make sure you don't have anything that is a weapon on you. Again, though, you got to kind of wonder, though, if this is a licensed driver for a big rig, an infraction like that, you're going to lose your commercial license. So you got to wonder what was going on here. Maybe it was just a crime of opportunity. Again, though, safely coming to an end. No injuries to any folks on the roadway. And as it stands right now, that suspect not in custody, but I would venture to say he will be all right as well. California Highway Patrol still kind of planning on how they're going to take him into custody. And again, got to make sure there is nobody else inside that cab. There you go. Going into custody right there. Officers from California Highway Patrol taking that driver of that stolen big rig into custody right now. Again, the other officers still weapons out. They've just got to make sure that there is nobody else in that cab. Yep, there are a lot of windows, but there are hiding places as well. There might be somebody in there. I'd venture to say no, but of course, law enforcement is always going to err on the side of caution. Here we go. They're going to get a good look inside there. There you go. And I'm waiting for that visual code 4. Maybe not. Looks like he's actually making his way inside the truck just to double check. And there you go, code 4. And this is over, and one in custody. No injuries to anybody involved. Sorry, I wanted to get the shot of the helicopter hovering. I didn't see it, man. I'm just outside the frame. Oh, well. Soul that you see right there, that's the vehicle they're talking about. Slow moving indeed, and it is technically a pursuit, but for the most part I would call this more of a failure to yield, as this vehicle moving very slowly and obeying a lot of the traffic laws.
So the consequence for a failure to yield is what? Just
that's the same. It's just in the verbiage. It's the same type of deal. A pursuit, to me, would be something where it's moving a lot quicker, trying to maybe maneuver away from officers. This car just seems to be driving this morning. You can see it right there.
It's
moving
cruising
very slowly. Yeah. Just cruising along. And I keep doing that Y chat because I just want to see how far back the sheriff's units are. I think they've really just backed off totally right now. I'm going to work with Chris, my pilot, and make sure that the sheriff's ship is still above it. But I do know, Chris is telling me, yes, it is. It's definitely still here. So they're keeping an eye on it. They're making the calls, saying where it is. But as far as pursuit, as far as officers right behind it, right now they've backed off, and they're just keeping an eye on where this vehicle is going. That's their plan right now.
Stu, do we know why the police backed off?
Well, they backed off because of danger to the public. That is it's all policies, and then it turns into somebody that makes that decision. There's a sergeant somewhere keeping an eye on what's going on, and that person makes that call, tells the deputies in the field, hey, you know what, we're not going to risk anything, just back off. This car isn't doing anything too dangerous as far as the public's concerned, so the lights and sirens might just be making the driver of this car more intense. These are all things they're weighing out. Those are decisions well above me. I'm glad we're just kind of keeping an eye on it. I would hate to be the person making any of those kinds of calls. But right now, it seems to be the right deal. Look at this. This vehicle just kind of driving along out here.
He's keeping like even a safe distance from the other cars in front of him.
So I'm hearing you say it only becomes a major issue where you've got a big police presence if this individual starts weaving and bobbing and just causing issue with the public.
Yeah, it could. That it all is all kind of there's a lot of variables involved. There's a sergeant involved. There's the deputies, or let's just say officers, because in this case it's the sheriff's department. So those are the deputies. But law enforcement in general, they have a hierarchy, and the guys in the streets, the guys and the gals in the streets, they're the ones they're the patrollers, and then they have their bosses that they answer to. They are all making these decisions. They're keeping an eye on what's going on. In this case, a stolen vehicle, the helicopter's going to follow it. If this person just kind of pulls over, gets out and runs, that's probably going to be the best result. That way they get that car back safely, and they might be able to get that suspect into custody. If not, if this person starts driving crazy and becomes a hazard to the public, that's when, somebody's got to make that call. Do we re-engage the pursuit? Do we turn on the lights and sirens? Do we try to warn the public that this is happening? It's a delicate balance for sure.
So this individual could just keep on driving then?
At this point, yes, you know, and then you kind of wonder, does that person know that they're being followed?
Right.
Or they're even aware that right now that there's a helicopter above it? My guess is going to be yes. The sheriff's ship usually flying a little lower, but right now this car just kind of driving along, and like you said, you know, maybe they'll just pull over, get out, try to walk away. When that happens, we'll see how close the other law enforcement is, though, for sure.
We ask that because it does seem like he or she is obeying all the traffic signals.
Yeah.
And is keeping a pretty good distance away from the other cars and is not going at a high rate of speed.
Definitely, definitely, and all these things weigh into the decision that the law enforcement, like in this case, I would believe it was a sergeant, basically told the deputies on the ground, you know, disengage. You know, they were talking. There was a little talk about doing a pit maneuver because of the slow moving of the vehicle and light traffic. The traffic's kind of building up out here, that's for sure. But they decided not to. They were like, no, we're not going to do a pit. I guess there wasn't a deputy that was pit certified. It's also something that has to be done. Not all deputies are pit certified. So again, this vehicle continuing to drive, but that doesn't mean they're letting it go. This car isn't on the free. There is a helicopter above it besides us at law enforcement, and they're making the calls right now. They're keeping an eye on where it goes. When that car does stop, it's going to change up quite a bit. I'm sure that there's going to be officers arriving, and again, you know, that's the public safety. And even the driver of that vehicle, that person's safety is a concern of all law enforcement.
If you are just joining us, everybody, we are following a police pursuit this morning in Whittier. Stu is overhead in Sky Fox. It's a stolen vehicle that we're keeping an eye on for you. The driver just appears to be cruising, not going at really any high speeds or even being a hazard to the public.
Sorry about that, guys. I lost the IFB there for a moment, Melvin. I heard you make the commentary about the good driving effect that this driver has right now. Is he going to get any awards for that? Probably not, but it is definitely weighing into are they going to chase him or not. Right now, though, I'm going to take a look at the speeds, but I would venture to say that they are about what they should be out here right now and driving pretty well. Now, again, if he gets into a different area, maybe gets back onto a freeway, California Highway Patrol, they might have a different outlook on this. They might have a different attitude. Also, if it gets into LAPD's area, which it might, we're in a Pico Rivera right now, but if it does, then yes, they could re-engage that pursuit, but right now the Sheriff's Department, they're making that decision. They've got the helicopter above it. They're going to keep an eye on it. I just saw their helicopter right there. So this is the guy, they're up there, they're making the calls right now, keeping their officers informed about where that vehicle is, and again, it's just driving along this afternoon, and this is how they're going to start handling a lot of these pursuits because it's all policy right now, and safety is the biggest factor. They don't want to see anybody get hurt, including that suspect.
Do you feel like this is part of this individual's strategy, Stu, just to, you know, follow the speed limit?
No.
Not because I'm like, why? Because usually when you see these pursuits, they're flying by, they're weaving in and out of traffic.
Yeah, because he's stopping all the stoplights.
Right.
He has ample, you know, not that we're encouraging, but he has ample room to do all of this.
At what point?
Interesting.
Do you feel like they would just ditch this?
Yeah.
Law enforcement.
Well, law enforcement, I don't think they're just going to give it up. The chances are that's not going to happen. As far as that individual, you know, a lot of times I have these discussions with a lot of folks, and you know, this is checkers, not chess. I can almost guarantee it to you. Sometimes some of those suspects, they'll make some phone calls, they'll drive underneath a bridge, or they'll drive into a parking garage. But for the most part, you know, we're dealing with people that are playing checkers. This guy or gal that's driving this vehicle right now, he's not doing the, I'm just going to drive normal, they're going to back off, and I'm going to be able to run. I would venture to say this person is just, you know, in some sort of mindset right now. We do know it's a stolen vehicle, so that does kind of add to it. So the driver does know that he's driving a stolen vehicle. But as far as a plan to get away, I'm thinking not. I'm thinking that this person just driving right now, probably looking for a spot where he can park, or she can park that vehicle, just jump out and run. Might be somewhere over here. But now that I say all that, we have seen things change up dramatically so many times in the past.
Is this a parking lot he's pulling into? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I was actually thinking maybe he's just going to work and he's just going to kind of blend in, just kind of show up and
He'll just go to work,
in.
start his day.
Yep.
Maybe have a coffee.
Have a coffee. Again, it looks like it looks like a shopping mall out here for sure. The sheriff's ship, I hear in one of my off in the distance making those calls, telling the deputies where it is exactly. But definitely driving around a shopping mall right now. And again, I wouldn't be shocked if this car just kind of finds a parking spot and then the driver gets out and tries to make his way on foot, or we just drive out of the parking lot.
Or we just do that. Yeah.
And of course, as this individual continues to drive and he or she moves into different jurisdictions, there's different rules, right? By way of the law enforcement.
Definitely, and that's also what might come into play is if he gets into a different area, some other law enforcement might look at this differently. That driver might start driving erratically. That could change things up as well. Right now, though, I just wonder, does that person in there feel like he's being watched? I always kind of wonder about that. It looks like they're looking right up at us. So he's got to know that there's a helicopter above. The sheriff's helicopter extremely low, probably putting out a lot of noise. But again, you can see it just driving, doing the traffic signals, driving along pretty normally out here. But I would venture to say, starting to think about where can I park this car, get out, and kind of hide and maybe separate myself from that stolen vehicle.
Stu, for anybody who's just joining us right now, can you talk about how this chase began? And maybe, is there more than one person in the car that you've been able to see?
Well, we only see the driver right now. We'll try to move around a little bit and see if we can take a peek inside. And I haven't heard about multiple people inside the car. Sometimes we'll hear crosstalk. As far as how this started in the Carson-Compton area, and it was a stolen vehicle. Deputies got behind it, probably ran that plate, and then the lights and sirens came on, and that vehicle did not stop. At one point, got onto the freeway speeds, but then it started using the emergency lane, and it was driving pretty quickly until it got off the freeway, and then basically what we see here started following all the rules of the road, just kind of driving along, keeping those freeway speeds, stopping at stoplights. There was one stoplight it did run at one point. The deputies, well, they backed off, and Chris is my pilot this morning, telling me that there is nobody behind it at all right now, or even in the neighborhood that he sees out the window. And, well, maybe there is one now just getting into the neighborhood now. So they are making those calls, and that's what happens. Is the sheriff's ship flies overhead, the helicopter. He's making all these calls. Deputies are making themselves conveniently local. This is probably the best way to say it. So they might not be right behind it, but they might be a block away or a couple blocks away. So when that vehicle does stop, they'll swoop in and they'll try to capture that driver. Right now, though, it seems to be working well, at least as far as the public goes. This vehicle driving safely, no public threat, but again, that is a stolen vehicle, and I'm sure that the owner might want it back.
Yeah, I would say the one thing to be thankful for when it comes to this is that this is one of the most civilized police chases I've ever seen.
No doubt about it. You know, the other thing I'm thinking here too, Jen, is you wonder how much gas is in that car, too, right? But I mean, just abiding by the laws and the rules of the road. Not going at any type of a high speed. Seems to be, even at that light, then the individual was just parked at a light, very chill inside the car.
Slowing down for all the speed humps, you know?
Right. I mean, it's
stopping for all the stop signs.
And I guess...
Yep.
And you do have to wonder, I mean, does he know that he's being pursued? If the police are that far away from him?
Well, he's got to know that something's going on, and as far as, you know, he is driving. Let's face it, he is driving well. You know, I'm not a DMV and tester, but I can tell you he is driving pretty well. But as far as relaxed, you know, that's about the only thing we can do up here in Sky Fox is try to read body language. And look at that, he's looking around, he's looking at us. He is definitely. You can feel the tension, so he knows what's going on. Relaxed, I would say no. And there you go. He kind of made a bad move right there, kind of cut off that car. But what's he doing? Well, that's going to be the tough one right there. If that, you know, is he going to a neighborhood? Is he trying to plan a way to get away? Well, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll see. But right now, the Sheriff's Department, they're with us here as well. They're down there. They're making the calls. Chris does say that he is seeing black and whites in the neighborhood. I don't know for sure if they're the Sheriff's Department because we have made our way into where are we exactly? The Whittier area. So they might be Whittier PD down there right now, and they might have a different take on this. They might just get behind it, turn on the lights and sirens, and re-engage that pursuit, and or even try to bring it to an end. Maybe spike strips, maybe a pit maneuver. But right now, that stolen vehicle just kind of cruising around the city of Whittier, and we're keeping an eye on it with all our viewers.
Right, and you know, one more time, the reason for which there's not a heavy police presence right now is because they have deemed that this individual has not presented as any type of a hazard or a threat to the community because they're not driving reckless or out of control, right?
Using turn signals, wearing a seatbelt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, using the turn signals, wearing a seatbelt, keeping an eye on it. Might be on his, I don't know. I thought maybe he was getting on a cell phone right there. Maybe he's checking. You know, a lot of times we have seen a lot of communication with friends, family, others, and they try to make some sort of plan. Hopefully, you know, it doesn't work. You know, hopefully the driver of the car gets, or the owner of that vehicle gets that vehicle back in one piece safely, and nobody gets injured. You know, as far as that suspect getting captured, we always want to see that. But right now, it looks like this driver is just going to be driving the stolen vehicle for a little bit here, and they're formulating a plan. I am hearing them talk. They may re-engage that pursuit, but where or when? That's still an option. We're making our way, still coming up on Whittier Boulevard. It looks like we're going to go straight through it. There's that sheriff's ship. That was the shot I was waiting for. They're still here. They're making those calls. And, of course, sergeants are thinking about possibly re-engaging this chase.
Stu, what would have to happen in order for them to re-engage?
One of their bosses is going to have to sit there and say, you know what, let's try to bring this thing to a stop, or they might be trying to get a deputy that is pit qualified into the area to maybe do that pit maneuver, and or if this driver gets into a neighborhood and we start seeing that common making blocks, they might be able to use the spike strips. So they do have options. They definitely have options. It being a stolen vehicle, though, that's the problem. It isn't like we know where this car belongs. Like if this was something else, like the driver belonged to that vehicle, they would just say, okay, well, we know where this person lives. We'll door knock later on. We'll let him get away right now, but we'll catch him later. But the fact that this is stolen, they have no idea who this driver is, and they're going to want, that's really what they want. They want to take that driver into custody.
Well, and the other question here, too, yes, this individual is abiding by the rules of the road, driving safely, quote unquote. How long will they let this go on, do you think?
That's a tough one. That's a real tough one. You know, we're watching. A lot of other folks are watching as well. So that it, you know, really that is a call again for somebody that's pay grade much higher than mine. You know, they're getting paid to make those big decisions. Are we going to stay with it? Are we going to back off? And so somebody's got to make that call eventually. The sheriff's ship's going to stay with it probably as long as their bosses say, hey, it's okay. We're going to keep an eye on it. The best bet would be this driver just get to where they want to go, park that vehicle, get out, and then at least the owner of the car would get the car back in one piece, and then maybe that suspect would get captured some other time.
Stu, I know that you had mentioned there were several officer vehicles in the area. How far back are they? Do we know?
I got to talk to Chris about that because he was giving me information. Quarter mile or so away behind him, but then occasionally we'll see black and white apparently in other neighborhoods or near cross streets. So that's usually how it gets played out. You know, the helicopter will make these calls, and it is universal. Not universal. It is shared by other. Well, here we go. That was a little unusual. Yeah, see things like that.
Is he picking up speed?
It looks like
it's picking up speed.
Yeah,
definitely picking up a little bit of speed there, and things like that is what's going to cause issues, especially on those turns. But the helicopter's making calls. Other agencies are able to listen into those calls as well. They're made aware that a pursuit or a following or whatever this is right now is coming through their neighborhood, and so they will be in the area. They won't make their presence, very visible because they don't want to, and I mean this, they don't want to stress out that driver. They don't want that driver to feel like they are being pursued and make irrational decisions. So that's kind of the thinking behind not being behind the vehicle, lights and sirens, and just keeping an eye on where it goes.
Why do you think he's going at the pace that he is?
I mean, maybe it's a tactical thing, right? Maybe, I don't know, maybe he knows that they can't necessarily get all up on him if he's driving responsibly like this.
I'm not sure about that, but, it's probably just bide your time. A lot of times that I think that's really just it. Whoever's behind that wheel is just trying to not be in cuffs as long as possible. And that's probably what is going on in this person's mind right now. Is he going to, he's got his blinker on. You can see he's smoking. I can feel the tension just looking at him. I'm getting stressed out just watching. But as far as the law enforcement, they all seem to be cool and calm and relaxed. And we're hearing them make calls constantly, just kind of updating the city, the cross streets. We've got our fancy map up there so everybody can see it. But right now, waiting for a very long traffic light out here in the Whittier, Pico Rivera area. And there we go, starting to make that move once again. And it looks like we are going to be getting onto Rosemead and just driving along. If he gets onto a freeway, California Highway Patrol might pick this up. They might have a different idea on how to handle it.
And there is police presence, though we don't see the lights and the cars behind him. There is police presence overhead, and you said about a quarter of a mile behind him?
Yeah, Chris just said it again, that they have really, really backed off. All the cars are gone. The helicopter's still here, though, correct, Chris? The helicopter's still here for sure. It's a kinder, gentler law enforcement out here in the California area, especially out in Southern California. And but honestly, I poke a little jokes at it. But the reality is I honestly believe that their tactics are working as far as public safety is concerned, and that is the major concern, or the number one prerogative of all law enforcement is public safety. And not being behind this guy, lights and sirens, and this person driving erratically, I believe is actually a good tactic, and it keeps the public safe. So they are doing what they are paid to do, and that's what it's all about, is safety. And they just don't want to see anybody get hurt. Property can be replaced. But as far as injuries, we just don't want to see that at all. And even that suspect is something that law enforcement does consider when there is a pursuit or any type of tactical situation.
If you're just joining us this morning, we've been following a police pursuit for the last 20 minutes, a pursuit of a stolen vehicle. We've got Stu overhead in Sky Fox in the San Gabriel Valley community. Is that where he is now, Stu, he or she?
We are, yes, we're in the San Gabriel Valley for sure. That's exactly where we are. And it's a Kia Soul that they're driving. I was trying to stay away from the hamster jokes, but there is no hamsters in that vehicle. It is a driver, human being, and they are keeping an eye on it for sure. There's no doubt about that. The helicopter's still here. Law enforcement being told location and speeds and directions. And they really just want this thing to pull over and that suspect to get out, and then this might change up. They might let this guy actually get a little bit of a distance, but they are nearby. That's all I can say. They're not just letting it go. That isn't what has happened as of yet. But right now, stolen vehicle, but it is driving correctly. That's probably the best way to put it right now, and safely, and stopping at the stoplights, not being aggressive in its any type of moves out here, and law enforcement choosing to follow this stolen vehicle instead of pursue it this morning.
It doesn't look like he really has a good direction of where he's trying to go, just based on his driving pattern.
Just kind of meandering around down there.
Buying time.
We just crossed the... Yeah, biding his time. I was wondering if we were going to get onto that on-ramp there. You're going to make another turn, and it looks like we're staying on the majors out here. But it is starting to seem like we are in a general area. We've been in the San Gabriel, Whittier type of area right now, so maybe he's making blocks. Maybe he's familiar with this area. I'm guessing that it doesn't have navigation, which might have been an option that he could have used today to get an idea where he needs to be. But right now, I would venture to say this driver just biding his time a little bit while law enforcement keeps an eye on it along with us. And we're just going to see where this car goes. Picking up a little bit of speed here. I'm actually going to bring up the speed so the folks at home get an idea as well. And you can see it right there. But he speeds up, he slows down, as long as he's not running those red lights and cutting people off.
He's not going that fast.
Really
no, he's not. No, this is, like I said, this is the most civilized police chase I think I've ever seen yet.
Yeah, a lot of times it's more like a hockey match. This one seems to be more like a golf tournament right here. Making another turn. It looks like another parking lot, a big parking lot. That this is the second time he's gone through here. Maybe he's looking for a spot to just park and maybe try to blend in a store. We've seen that in the past as well. We've actually seen the opposite happen too. A couple times when a pursuit has gone into like they'll park the car and run into a store. We'll actually see everybody running out of the store. So right now we're just keeping an eye on it, cutting across some parking spaces right there. But again, the law enforcement knows where we are. We're keeping an eye on it as well.
Oh, he pulled into a parking spot.
And a handicap spot. How dare you?
That's not nice.
Pulling into a handicap parking space.
Oh, he's out of the vehicle. Open the door.
Door's open. Door's open. There you go. Clearly not handicapped. There we go.
Oh.
And looks like we're gonna get Sky Fox around to the other side so we can see the name of the store that he's going into and what store he's going into.
This is where you wonder where we could use the law enforcement, the police, because
what happens when he goes inside the store?
Yeah, we're coming around as quickly as possible. There's a lot of traffic up here, but yeah, we're going to keep an eye on it. I just hope there's the sheriff's ship. The sheriff's ship knows it as well. He's making those calls right now, but he definitely made his way inside whatever this is. I would venture to say, oh, no, he didn't. I guess they were still closed. Maybe he's going to go back over to the car.
This would be an ideal time for officers to be in this parking lot right now.
Here they come. Here they come. Here they come. Here they come. Here they come.
There we go.
Is he gonna be able to get into the car and
start
go?
the car?
No. And let's see what he does.
We're all frustrated too.
My goodness!
You gotta be kidding me.
You have got to be kidding me.
Yeah, and it's got to be so frustrating for all these deputies down there.
Well, maybe not.
Well, he's in a parking lot. He's boxed in right now. He's not going to be able to get very far.
There's a couple of there's other ones coming around.
All right.
Yeah, they're going to try to box him in. Are they going to actually physically?
That's not good.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay.
The owner of that car is going to be pretty upset. I feel his pain for sure. And now look at that. The driving pattern has changed up a little bit.
I'm sure it will. Now after that.
Yep. Yeah. I got a little bit of a
stolen car into a police cruiser.
Up. And, these deputies, the doors pop open, and you know that this guy is not going to stop.
Right.
I wonder if one of these is pit certified, because that would have been a good time to do it.
Yes.
And again, here I am in a helicopter, no police training at all, calling out saying, you should have done a pit maneuver.
Well, you've been doing this a while, Sue. You've seen a number of these.
You have.
So the speed, the speed's not picking up too much.
But it is frustrating to watch, especially when this guy got out of his car.
Oh, he's on foot.
Walked into a store. Yeah. Who knows what could have happened?
Gets in the car, restarts the car.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. These deputies, believe me, they want this thing to come to an end. You can just imagine their frustration. We're just watching it.
Sure.
They're down there doing their jobs, and it gets really, really frustrating. That driver, though, he really lost his points when he parked in that handicap zone, especially for me.
Yep.
Right now, though, we're keeping up here. residential neighborhood. I'm going to get a little bit of a peek ahead there, just a wider shot. There are some more traffic, but a lot of deputies are getting involved in this right now. So I can I got to turn down one of the scanner there, but they are definitely getting back involved in this, and they are going to try to bring this to an end. How they're going to do it? Well, now it's going to be a little tough again now that the vehicle is on the move. Pit maneuver, possible.
Ooh.
And it could have happened right there. Yeah, it could have happened right there.
So what kind of charges would he be looking at now that he crashed his stolen car into an officer's vehicle there?
That, that's going to be for the prosecutors to try to haggle about. But, they do tack on that could have been assault with a deadly weapon on a deputy. And that's a big one. That's a big one. That's probably even going to be more of a weight than the actual stolen vehicle charge. So this has changed up quite a bit. And deputies right now
we're stopped.
Now we're stopped, and we're stuck behind this person. And I would venture to say lights and sirens are going, and folks are trying to get out of the way. You can see this person hearing the lights and sirens, moving out of the way, and the Kia going to kind of just join the flow of traffic here.
Still going with the flow of traffic, though, Stu.
Yep, and that's a good thing for all the folks on the road down there.
How many cop cars are you counting right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 6, 7?
Yeah, 6 or 7, maybe 8. I feel like this is almost a scene out of an old Blues Brothers movie. There is a lot of officers following this vehicle right now. We went from none to a lot. Let's just say that in just one little instance right there. I really want to see this come to an end. I don't want to see that vehicle any more damaged. I'm sure if the owner's watching right now at home, I'm sure they are cringing, because that was a clean little Kia Soul until that suspect bumped into that deputy right there. But you see these guys right here, we're kind of poking a little fun at it. This is not any kind of fun. This is very, very serious. These deputies have loaded weapons pointed at that suspect, and if he makes a poor move,
we have guns drawn?
Been making a couple of them. Guns are drawn for sure, and I don't know what's going on right now. He's making some sort of decisions. Just do not put that thing in reverse. Please do not put it in reverse. And there we go. Okay, there we go. And we're going again. It's a tough call. Those deputies, maybe they are not pit certified. Maybe their bosses are saying don't try to pit it. But that one cruiser seems to be right on his tail most of the time. So maybe if the opportunity does appear and it's safe for all people involved and also property, they might do a pit maneuver. But again, this pursuit on and going, and now I would call this more of a pursuit, as you see a number of law enforcement right behind that vehicle and that sheriff's ship above making those calls, as that Kia Soul leads a number of officers on this pursuit, even another one on the other lanes. Speeds not so high, but the driving continues to be safe, is the only thing I can say, waiting for the light. And this is beyond bizarre. You kind of would think, we know that how the rules work, that they don't want to block that suspect in putting that suspect in a position to harm a deputy. That's really the truth. Like people will say at home, well, why isn't that car in front of him? Well, that's the reason why. Because if he put his vehicle in front, or that deputy put that vehicle in front of that car, and then somebody was injured, it would probably fall on the deputy making the bad decision. So that's the reason why they can't do things like that. They're waiting for an opportunity. Spike strip's a possibility. Pit maneuver. What is going on here?
Who's this individual?
Oh, I don't know.
Who's this guy?
Is he trying to hop in the passenger seat?
Was he trying to help?
Maybe it's his car.
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe it's his car. I don't know
what
that
this
was.
man's doing.
This all about?
Yeah.
He looks upset.
Welcome to Los Angeles. There we go. He looks very upset. That's for sure. That's for sure.
If you're just joining us, everybody, we've been following police pursuit for over 30 minutes now. Stu Mancold was on foot and tried to enter. We don't know what it was, a grocery store or otherwise.
Do you know what store that was? It wasn't open because
got back in the car.
Yeah, got back in the car and then crashed into a cruiser.
Oh, we're getting into a park. Getting into a park area. You know, the only reason I say that is a lot of times these roads just kind of fall back on themselves. I'm going to keep an eye on some of the other deputies, but also there's a lot of open spaces out here. There's a lot of people out here jogging. I don't want to see something happen where he starts driving on a jogging trail, or there's somebody out here this morning exercising.
People have their kids
tragedy
out,
strikes. Yep. But right now, this would be an ideal spot for a pit maneuver. You've got nobody around there. You've got no parked vehicles or anything except for that one. And it looks like we're dumping out onto an industrial area out here. Again, you got to wonder if that suspect actually knew this area. As you can see right there, that's actually a pretty cool move. That deputy is basically blocking traffic to make sure that no other traffic makes their way over here. It looks like a dead end. Definitely a dead end. So this is now they've got this guy kind of cornered. And
there's two huge boulders right there, so he's boxed in.
Yeah, and this is where where I kind of switch into cameraman mode, because you just don't know how these things are going to end, and we definitely don't want to see anything tragic happen. It's been a little jovial to this moment. Now all the tension is on. That driver's got to make some good decisions right now. Get out of that vehicle, put their hands up, go into custody. There's really no place for that car to go, as I can see it. And if he makes aggressive moves with that vehicle towards those deputies, this could change up very, very quickly.
And what park is this, Stu? Do you know?
I'm trying to find out. We're in the Whittier Narrows area. Whittier Narrows recreation area is what's coming up on our map. So that's going to be that area right there, and you can see adjacent to a very industrial area. But we'll keep an eye on what's going on. I'm sure commands are being called. That driver, clearly was trying to has made every effort to try to get away all morning. They don't have any reason to believe that he is armed.
I was going to ask you that,
because we don't know.
Some less than lethal right there. When you see those weapons with yellow or orange, depending upon what it is, either going to be some sort of maybe a pepper ball, maybe some sort of rubber bullets or something like that. Those are going to be the less than lethal. I'm sure that they also have tasers involved. This deputy right there has a shield. That shield is to protect. It is actually ballistic. Believe me, I don't want to be holding it and have somebody shoot at me. But it does seem like they are already being pretty aggressive in their attempt to just bring this to an end. We've seen these turn into, long standoffs. If you're wondering what that deputy is doing, they're going to block him in. They're going to try to get him to the point where that car can't get any momentum, back up, go forward, try to get out. So they're going to get as close as possible. But when you see that deputy with a shield, that is an indication that perhaps they're going to try to just walk up and open up that door and forcefully take that suspect into custody. That deputy right there, I'm venturing to say, you can see him with the radio. I'm sure that is for a loudspeaker, probably giving that driver commands, saying, come out of the car, put your hands up. You've got no place to go. The stuff we usually always hear.
So these are sheriff's deputies, local law enforcement?
These are sheriff deputies. I should be better at this, but I would venture to say that this is going to be Carson Compton. There you go. Door's open.
Appears to be surrounded.
Making some good decisions. Thank goodness. I am happy to see that.
I know.
For sure.
Same. Yeah. We're happy to see it come to a peaceful end. Hopefully, don't want to speak too soon, but.
And there you go. Walking back. Yep.
Okay.
On the ground.
Doing the follow the commands, and there you go. Deputies making that approach, and
doesn't look like he's resisting.
A little resistance right there.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, I'm sure that he's got to put up his end of the bargain right there as well. But at any rate, it looks like that this is coming to an end. We didn't see anybody get out of the car or make any movements, but deputies, they've got to play it safe, make sure that there is nobody in that back seat. And so you can see guns are still drawn until that suspect is handcuffed and out of the way, and then they'll make that approach, bringing this to a peaceful end. Minor damage to the car. I really feel bad for the owner of that car.
Yeah.
Hopefully that the insurance will take care of it and they'll get that back.
We should check in and see if there's anybody else in the vehicle. It doesn't look like there is. So yes, peaceful ending to this unusual police pursuit. But which police pursuit is not unusual these days, right, Stu? Right. You've covered many.
Definitely.
Thank you, Stu.
Thank you, Stu.
You just see this car circling around here in the Inglewood area. This is an odd place to make a left.
It is. So we wonder, does this driver have a connection, as you mentioned, to this neighborhood? Is this person looking for a place to ditch this car? Are they familiar with this neighborhood and maybe trying to go home or go to a friend's house, again, through another stop sign? Not worried about that. I don't know why this particular area is an area of focus. Oftentimes that is what we see.
So look there as that car blows through that stop sign there. We want to show you some video from earlier where that driver is driving in the lanes, crossing over those lanes. This is the wrong way in this box here that you're seeing. Look at the cars there. That part, that's the really scary part. If a driver's willing to do that with police on their tail, you see an officer right there in that video, that bigger box there. You see an officer right there with that suspect. That is where the danger came in, and that perhaps, Alex, is what police saw. They said we better back off this for the safety of the public.
And what we don't know also is sort of what led to the beginning of this. The way the person is driving so wildly with this Kia Optima, it leads you to believe that there's probably more to this story than just a stolen vehicle, that this person most likely, statistically, had some interaction with the law before. Don't know if is out on parole or is concerned about being caught, going back to prison, and is desperate to get away and to ride this thing out because, you know, this person is driving really frantically and wildly and not the way that, you know, most people would act or interact with law enforcement.
Well, we also don't know how this vehicle was stolen and from whom. Is it somebody that they know? Do police have perhaps some leads on who this driver is? Perhaps they know exactly who it is and can find this person later, kind of, we know where to find you kind of thing.
And was it stolen with a gun? Yeah. Was it, you know, an armed situation? And if so, does that make this situation, you know, more dangerous? And maybe one of the reasons why law enforcement is not actively pursuing this driver.
The wrong way? It looks to me like that person might be in lanes. Yeah, that was the wrong way in those lanes there. Perhaps that driver took that turn wider than they expected or thought, but they quickly got over into the correct lanes, making you now back that same direction in those wrong lanes. Makes you wonder if the person knows where they're going, being they got caught up there in that U-turn. They got to know there's helicopters overhead. Maybe police aren't right there behind them, but they got to know those helicopters are following them.
Although sometimes when you know, they fall back into the so-called tracking mode, which is where they're just followed from above and not followed from the ground. Part of the reason that they do that is to try to have the driver drive not as wildly. This guy's still driving pretty wildly, even though nobody's right behind him or her.
Let's bring in one man who knows these pursuits very well from the air, our Stu Mendel from Sky Fox. Stu, as you're watching this pursuit, you know, sometimes the driver will stop at a red light, and sometimes the driver will make very dangerous. Well, there's traffic there. Stop. So they may not be able to go anywhere except the wrong way or the wrong lane. Stu, take it over.
Well, you know, you can see it right there. He kind of slowed down, but now he's speeding up again. I kind of just joining you guys, and I'm just understanding it's Harbor Gateway, so that's going to be they're going to be tight streets out there, and it looks like he's on. I can't really make that out. It looks like he's on 120th and Vermont. So you know, those are going to be busy streets. At least he's slowing down right there. I see some damage on the car already. I joined in a little earlier there, and I heard him talk. Went into tracking mode, and that explains why there's nobody behind him. I would be saying right now that, you know, he's making some aggressive moves, but you know, he's not passing everybody. He's not kind of trying to push it in the vehicle. So the tactic of going into that tracking mode seems to be working for this situation. Now, does this person just kind of figure that there's nobody behind me? Probably not. We've seen that so many times in the past. They're going to hear the helicopters. They're going to know the helicopters are following. And I've actually even spoke to somebody at one time saying that they were watching on an app, and maybe he is watching us right now on that Fox app, so he knows that there are some little indecision right there. And you know, when you see that kind of turn, like that swerve, that kind of gives you the idea that maybe he knows where he is. you know, because it looked like he wanted to go down that street, but he changed his mind on that last second. Potential right there, speeds a little bit slower, so the tactics that law enforcement is using seems to be working. But again, stolen vehicle, and maybe you guys can fill me in. How did that damage get on the front of the car?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure we know about that. Sideswipe?
Yeah,
okay.
It looked like he swiped another vehicle a little bit earlier.
Well, Stu, and I'm also noticing the driver has not chosen to get back on the freeway. You're real close to the 110 freeway, the 105, and this driver is not jumping on those freeways.
Not jumping on the freeway, so that, you know, this might be one of those. He's kind of, again, we're seeing that he was on he was on Vermont, then he was 120th Street, so now he's back on 120th Street. It looks like, yeah, he probably knows this area. It's like he's starting to circle. He's not circling the drain by any means, and there was a in the shot going the other direction, so that shows you that law enforcement is in the area. Driving kind of slow right there. Looks like he's picking his spot. You know, I know who's the cameraman at Skyfox right now. No, maybe.
Yeah, is he bailing?
He's up against the pole. He's up against the pole, so he can't. He made a decision there. He has to back up to get out. So that's kind of odd. He kind of boxed himself in. There he goes. You can see that door opening.
Getting out.
And this is. I was going to say, and this is where the helicopter is going to come into play. I can tell you right now, I can hear the audio in my head. The helicopter is calling it out, saying you got a suspect out there, red hat, shorts, getting out of the vehicle. And I don't know why those officers aren't swooping in. They might not understand that he's in the alleyway, but he has no kind of rush. He seems to be extremely calm about this and just kind of walking away from that vehicle. Right now, though, I'm sure whatever the law enforcement is down there, they're going to be coming.
Gun? What's in his hand? Something's in his hand.
Well, you know,
does he have keys to get into another vehicle?
It could be keys to get into another vehicle. I'm guessing 2 cell phones. I'm thinking that he's got a cell phone in one hand and he's actually talking on the other one right now, or at least watching maybe the app, trying, you know, seeing like maybe they're watching me. I'm surprised that law enforcement not there yet, and he has no kind of urgency at all. Just looking over the shoulder. That's about it. But right now, just kind of walking along out there. But I can tell you that helicopter giving out the description. And this is a very, you know, black T-shirt. Come on. You might as well just be wearing a yellow jacket saying, I'm the bad guy.
Stu, it's almost maddening watching this from our, you know, armchair quarterback seats here, where it's like, he's right there. You just want to reach out and grab him. This is the guy from the stolen car pursuit who's just walking calmly down the alleyway. Where's he going to go? And you worry about other people, pedestrians and homeowners. Is he going to go into somebody else? Is he going to try to carjack somebody?
Well, it seems like we're more interested in this guy than the law enforcement, because you don't see them, right? I don't know. Maybe there's a reason for that. I mean, maybe they chose, you know, to stay off this.
You know, this is the thing. It's like now he's back on a major street out there. That helicopter has got to be giving out calls right now saying where this guy is. I wish I had access to a scanner. We very close to that car earlier on, but right now this suspect just continuing to walk along out there. I am sure that there's an officer watching this right now. They've got that address right there, and now did he get out of there? He's just casually walking.
All right, are we going to see a dog soon? I mean, this is like a comfortable stroll that this guy's just taken through the neighborhood. Couldn't be more obvious, wearing the red. And now he's talking on the phone to a buddy. We don't know what's going on with this. I mean, you thought at some point that he chose that particular spot, which is kind of a weird spot to ditch the car, that he probably had some connection to this neighborhood, and his house or a friend's house or a family member's house that he would go into.
There was a black car that just made a U-turn on the backside of that tree.
Is he going to get into another car?
I'm sure Skyfax. Oh, we don't know. That I'm just kind of black car that's right there in front of the white one made a U-turn as he came up to that intersection. So, but no,
there he is,
still there.
Nope, there he is.
I mean,
walking.
You have to wonder: is he calling someone to come pick him up? How far does he keep going?
Are we headed to a lemonade stand? Like, what's happening?
Gonna just try to show up in front of his house, get his mail, and go to walk inside. You know, it is so, and you're right, it is so frustrating. I could just imagine what those law enforcement that were behind him earlier on now able to see this guy out walking, and they just kind of let it go. They want to get the bad guy. That's kind of their gig. That's what it's all about. And now this guy just out there walking along on the street, and absolutely no law enforcement there. It makes me wonder if they were in tracking mode, or if they literally just gave it up. Because, that helicopter, they would be calling it out right now. There would be black and whites coming from all directions, making their way over to get this guy. So my guess is it might not have even been tracking mode. It might have just been straight out. We're just going to let this guy go. It's too dangerous. It's just a stolen car. Nobody hurt. It wasn't a carjacking. So right now, it's a tough one. And now he's underneath the bridge, and we've seen that happen a couple times in the past. And there you go. The Skyfox basically saying there's law enforcement right there. So my guess is somebody with, making the decision said, just let this guy go for whatever reason it was.
Okay, well, I guess with that guidance,